I'm Vivian Bang, and let's celebrate NAN GHANA! Come on up here! So Nana is an actor, she's a model, she's an artist, you know, she puts up performances. I think one of her superpowers is to like bring together community. She puts on these plays and she's, you know, in galleries, and she's everyone's muse, and she's a director, writer, you know, mentor. I mean, I can't even label. So I'm just curious, you told me this process started
8 years ago.
8 years ago.
Yes. I was looking for a way to put together the real women of Los Angeles that I was meeting, and showing how we were all connected despite where we were from, despite you know, our economical background, what we were going through in life. And I thought Des Moines was a perfect place to begin, because we all woke up this morning, and we all wake up we're waking up to make meaning of our lives, to step forward into our dreams, and I just thought that would be a great place to begin connecting the story.
Yeah, you told me in the beginning, like 8 years ago, it started with just a couple of your friends, right? And you had the idea of maybe like creating some sort of art video that you would display in a gallery, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think as part of like one of the major like roles of a director is in your choices of who you bring to collaborate, right? So who were your subjects in the beginning?
My subjects, Layla, actually, my dear friend Layla's here. She also helped out with production. Thank you so much, Layla. Yeah, this film has been an evolution, really. I mean, like, there's so many like morning sunrise shots that I was super hungover for. I was having flashbacks of those. Yeah, at first it was going to be like a visual portrait of all these women waking up. At the time, I was really inspired by Doug Aiken, Veronica Veal. I had seen Andy Warhol's Sleep, and so I was just sort of like creating this piece around that kind of work that I was taking in at the time. And you know, the more I got further, I mean, I made a rule that I was not going to follow the women after, I was only going to stay on the morning to make it more potent. And I just was, you know, the more it went on, I was like, who are these women? Like the food truck woman, like I drove by her every day, and I was just so curious about what her story is. And I thought, even if the audience was only going to have 2 minutes of them, I thought that was still powerful. And LA is such a big city, and there's so many aspects to it. So, you know, 25 women in one film is, of course, that's LA, right? That's like moving through each neighborhood. And so I wanted to go deeper and like find out who these women really were, and also like break the stereotype of what an LA woman was. Like, you know, I went to find a porn star, for instance, and I was really curious about, you know, why a woman would become a porn star, you know, like the Valley, like, you know, or like, you know, being an actress in LA, or, you know, even in my friend group, a lot of people don't even know Compton, you know, who are the women there. You know, the two moms that we saw in the beginning she was the house cleaner of the other woman, and I thought that was such a powerful thing, because they're both mothers with sons, and they want to give their sons a great life, and what connected them was the freeway from the east side to the west side. So yeah, it was like. But
you know, I mean, like I see women all the time, like across the street, and I wonder, like, I wonder what their lives are like, you know. But it's hard to be invited into this like intimacy of the morning ritual and such. Like how, you know, some of these. I mean, you had just met. Like, how did you approach in asking them, and then who did you take with you? Because I asked you if. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of topic. But I asked you if like any of this was staged, and it wasn't, right? So you're literally capturing these women as they're getting up. So I mean, what is it like? You're like near their beds, like with the camera, and you're just like waiting for them to rise and hello, you know, like, can you just describe a little bit of the like your crew, you know?
The process. I think first of all, I think the reason why we're able to see this total vulnerable, trusting relationship between myself, my lens, and the women is because I live my life like that. You know, I present myself very raw and open, and I think that allowed the women to as well give themselves to me. But you know, part of the things that part of the choices I made was that I wasn't going to scout the house before, so I would have a discussion with them, and they would leave the key for me somewhere in the front door or hide it under a plant. So it was like a whole excursion to go there, but I just also wanted to have that voyeuristic vibe, you know, and of course,
I mean, that's like truly voyeuristic. I'll leave my keys under a rock and let's just sneak in and say.
Yeah, that was like a SoCal like influence for sure on that. But yeah, I would have them leave a key somewhere, and then for the initial waking up, it was mostly myself, and I had a few camera friends come on. And when you're doing a project that is like self-funded and Kickstarter and all that, you know, sometimes you just gotta go when it's ready. You know, you just gotta take your camera and just like go for it. And so I think for me as a filmmaker, particularly for this project, having those boundaries was so important for me. You know, like you only staying in the morning, only using natural light, you know, hiding the key somewhere. It just really all kind of created this this thing that we're able to experience.
Yeah. I loved how, you know, they're from all different walks of life, and, you know, I mean, we all do have to brush our teeth, that's in common, but you had this, you had an ability to kind of bring the, you know, all of your women into this like one world, you know, like in this one movie, and I think like composition was like a part of it, and as long as like, you know, and the editing and like, so like all of these collaborators, I think my niece who's 2 years old is like, she has this toy, she can't figure it out, she'll like walk up to me and she's like, I need help. I think one of your superpowers is like to ask for help and to have like all these amazing sort of collaborators come on board and help you create this project. And you know, can you tell me, I know at one point you had, can you tell us like who was moderating like before Rosario Dawson?
Yeah, at one point I was collaborating with James Franco, who was my mentor. He's a dear friend. And I think that was also very natural in the stage that the project was. And I was really trying to find, the narrator came in because I was trying to find a way to have, you know, Los Angeles be part of the film. And to me, the film is a meditation, so I felt like poetry was something that was really going to tie it in, you know? And I mean, I haven't seen the full film like this big with Rosario, and as we all know, she's just a queen, she's a light, she's a woman that, just like all the women that appear in the film, she's someone who knows the power of her voice. And I think that when I shared this piece with her, she just knew that by adding her voice to it, it was going to amplify the message, and it did.
So like you had like James like, you know, do the voice before, and then you realized it didn't work, and then you met like, didn't you meet Rosario at Sundance?
No, I met her in Nolan's.
Oh, okay,
yeah.
And you just like went up and asked
Well,
her.
actually she was my neighbor from a long time ago. And
I see,
it's just like I've seen her over the years, and it was just
so
a perfect time. And yeah.
I thought you like literally just saw her at a party and was like, hey, do you want to moderate?
Girl, I mean, I've done that before, but.
And then like the editing too, like didn't you go through several editors? And I think part of like the process of making a film like this is that you can try different things, and if it doesn't work, it's fine, because then you can try something else.
Yeah.
And
I mean, I definitely, for the editing, I always knew what the full film was going to be. It was going to be about rituals and different women, but it was always like trying to find the right editor, because also English is my second language, and I also think in like the way I think is different. So it's really hard sometimes for me to convey, what I want. And but luckily I met this wonderful editor, Eric Pritchard, who was really able to listen to my brain and help me figure out how I wanted to tie the whole rituals and the city and the women together.
I wanted to read this little quote. I think I made a screenshot of it. No, I didn't. I can't find it. Okay, never mind. But yeah, I mean, the way that you're able to bring this kind of feminine power and feminine spirit and to invite us into this, the intimacy of the rituals, and to really bring out this sort of empathy in all of us, where immediately it takes less than 2 minutes for us to know all of these women, and you do such a great job. And I know Nana really wanted to open up the discussion to you guys. Thank you for being here, and yeah, so we wanted to kind of open the conversation to all of us. How many of you guys are filmmakers here? Director, okay, rad, so you can, and yeah, are there any questions or comments? Ariana?
Hi, I'm really impressed with how intimate you got so quickly, and how it's such a challenge to make a film like this that covers so many women you're not spending a lot of time with each of these women. You're just capturing this time film. So that to me, says a lot about what you were saying about how your heart is open, right? So I was really, the two things that really felt knowing you that that were shining for me through your eyes was the variety of the women that you chose, and then how immediate the intimacy was. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so you're asking how quickly I was able to... Yeah, I mean, I think, all the women, some began as friends. A lot of people didn't end up in the final film. But I think...
You interviewed over 50, right?
Yes, exactly. And some, some just appeared in the ritual element of the film. I think for me, it's I always begin with my heart open and respect. And I think that's where I begin with all the women. And so it was just a very honest project. It was an honest thing that I was trying to explore. And I'm so lucky that these wild, amazing women were able to open up themselves like that.
Hi, I guess I would be curious to see your morning ritual.
It's a drag
Wouldn't we
show.
all?
and know what that is for you. You said, you're not from the States, obviously.
Yes.
Nana is actually royalty. She is the princess of Ghana. Literally, her grandfather is the king of Ghana. I don't know if you guys knew that.
Keep it on the hush.
So I guess I'm curious, how long ago did you move to LA, and what was your morning ritual like, and what kind of got you through, I don't know, maybe a dream?
Yeah.
or just made you
Who I am.
LA, yeah.
Yeah. I grew up in Ghana, and I grew up in a home where I was lucky to grow up with my great-grandmother, my aunties. We all existed in a one big house together. And so for me, it was I just always saw women gathering and just talking and supporting each other, gossiping behind each other, but still play. You know what I mean? I always knew how that system worked. And I mean, when I came to LA, I think I'm who I am a lot because of the women that I've met, that have uplifted me and took me in and showed me things and about myself that I didn't even know. And I think that was part of like me wanting to explore by making this film, like what it was to be, because I started this when I was 25 years old. So yeah, it was, there's some element of that in there too. But my rituals, I've become a spiritualist as well as an artist, and I am, growing up in Ghana, there's a lot of rituals, like when I turned 13, I had a puberty rite where the whole village came and blessed me with gifts and dances and songs, and so rituals is something that's really embedded in me, and this is like a modern day take on it.
Yeah, and I loved how like the body, I loved when we first met, you were like, this is our vessel, this body is our vessel, this space, this thing that we're occupying to live this life, and the way that you portrayed the female body in the film was really, I really enjoyed like how, it wasn't like, we're so used to seeing our bodies like through the male gaze or through judgment or through criticism, and you were really able to like, introduce.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I think so. I mean, I feel like the female body is a fucking rocket ship. My God, the things that I can do. I mean, like as I'm becoming more in tune with myself, and my body's just, how the body can just like heal itself and just give birth, and it's just wow, it's fantastic. It's a phenomenal thing. And yeah, I think, I started my career as a model, and my body was something that I remember like when I was like super young in New York, hearing comments like, your butt is too big for your size, like shit like that, and I didn't understand and then guys liked my butt, but then like it was too big to fit in the clothes, but my waist was small, you know what I mean? So it was always like, that always kind of like comes to my head, and I think to really truly love your body in its all the glory is like, it's a weapon, because we've been grown, we've been thought to, have to look a certain way in order to be loved or fit in, and to really truly love yourself and that vessel and move through it, because it's your vehicle, it's how you move through the world. And I think once you do that, it'll also allow others to be themselves.
Yeah, and it was beautiful how you were able to portray that, like, where else do we show our most vulnerable selves but in the morning of, of rising and getting up, and, yes.
So
I have a question. With the diversity of the women that you chose, naturally, as an audience member, you have these women that you feel like, oh, fuck yeah, and then you have these other women that you're like kind of giggling about, or you feel like, oh, you have all these different feelings about them in terms of whether or not you relate to them or not. And I was curious, the most surprising thing was the woman who was the parking enforcement officer or meter maid, which is like already we have this name for them that's super demeaning that we use all the time. The parking enforcement officer sounds kind of weird, but she was the one I loved the most. So
Yeah.
like
We do create our own madness. It's our fault.
But were there any women that you expected to feel sort of like, I don't know if I like her story, and then you were in the filming process and the editing process and just completely fell in love?
yeah, I mean, for sure, Jackie Pucci, the parking meter maid, was definitely one of them. Yeah, like even Suzo, the Swedish woman, I wasn't really sure about her, because I definitely made a judgment towards her when I met her. I met her at the gym when I used to live in Venice, at Gold, if anyone's been there, it's a trip. But I used to work out there all the time, and I would see her coming, and she definitely she was an archetype that I was really interested in physically, like the boobs and like the blonde and all that. But I judged her, and I didn't realize that, I think we cut part of the audio out, but she said in her interview, she's like, do you want to know the true story? The true story is that because she was bullied when she was, when she was younger, and so that kind of made me feel bad for a second, but I forgave myself. But yeah, that was something that happened.
Yeah, I mean, we all do. You know, I saw the woman who's living at Chateau Marmont. I'm like, I'm not gonna feel sorry for you because you have to stay at Chateau Marmont. And oh, boo, your house is not ready. But I realized when you got that intimate shot with her and the daughter is like comforting the mom, that it's like, really, she failed as a mom, and we all can, you know, like we all can, yeah. So that
Exactly, and that's another one too with Nicole. Another woman that I was like, oh, you live in a chateau, but you know, as a mom that wants to provide a safe space for her and her child. Yeah.
She felt like she was failing, and we all do, yeah.
So I guess it kind of piggybacks off the other question, like out of the 50 women that you interviewed, like how did you decide who gets to make the final cut? And did you have to explain to the women who you interviewed like why you chose not to use them? Or...
No, I didn't. You know, I didn't really interview. I shot 50 women, 50 rituals, and then I interviewed the ones. Well, I interviewed 30, and then 23 made it.
So 50 women entrusted you with keys to their house
Yeah.
to come in the morning. That's trust.
That's a pretty big deal. Yeah, I haven't spoken to them, but like, you know, the ones that appear in the film, obviously, like the interview was like after I came back the next day and did the interviews with them, and so they definitely knew that there was something that I wanted to find some, you know, I wanted to explore more with them. So yeah.
Yeah, can you just talk a little bit about your process, like how you approach these women? If you had hesitations throughout the 50, I'm sure you've had different responses.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, now the film is finished. You said you didn't talk to them. I'm curious about, you know, some documentary workers want to participate, people that are involved in the final process, like what relationship you have with that as the maker and as these people that are collaborating with you women.
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, I've recently reached back out to the women, you know, and like because of social media and Facebook, like I'm able to like, you know, be in touch that way, like that superficial level. But it's really hard to like, you know, keep 50 women in, you know, as I'm also pursuing my career. But I think the process with the women, these women too, the thing is like Celeste, the woman in Southgate that is the breast cancer survivor. I mean, fuck, without insurance, without a doctor, and I met her on Craigslist, she was ready to tell her story. She was like, yes, like this shit is happening, like people don't even realize that Southgate is in LA, you know, so I was really lucky that, I mean, I was definitely in tune with like all the energies to like, you know, once I really figure out what I really wanted to say with the piece, that like, I needed to, like, what's a breast cancer survival story look like? But yeah, you know, right now actually, all the women in the film that appear in the film, like, there's, you know, interesting press opportunities coming around for them to like share their stories and their advocacy, and I'm really excited that this film would give them that platform to do that. There's been some, you know, just interesting, Brian and I actually worked together on International Women's Day. This is going to be, next year will be the 6th year anniversary. So while making this film, I've been doing these events to, you know, to keep alive the feminine spirit throughout. And I'm really excited to see how, you know, how the women in the film, how this film is gonna help them, you know, be able to put out their own message.
Yeah, I think one of the best gifts that we can all give each other is like the platform to be heard or to be seen. And yeah, your sort of deep listening and that kind of, you know, and this platform and this gorgeous movie to like show, you know, give these women space to be seen and heard is like really admirable. And on that, I wanted to just plug, there will be an official premiere in Los Angeles.
Yes, premiere in Los Angeles on October 15th. at the Saban Theater.
And all your women will be there.
And all the
right?
women will be there. And we have a Instagram called at LA Women Rising. And I will have all the information that we have a Facebook page as well. And the film comes out on Amazon and iTunes and Mubi and all that on October 18th.